Alright guys, so Zach's got a quick little handout. This is from the BJCP. This is their flashcards. You can print this off the internet for free. If you print it back to back, you got a nice set of flashcards to train yourself if you want to do the beer judging program. The other quick thing is I printed one of these off. I also put a link to this up on our Facebook. This is the complete beer fault guide. I had not actually heard about this, and I found it when I was looking for information on this stuff. And this is very thorough, and I really like the way this is put together. It's got almost every off flavor and really just flavors overall in beer. It's 20-something pages long, so it's a pretty good size, but you can see it's in PDF form online. If you want to learn more or know more, or if you ever have a question, you might save that link somewhere, or it's always on the Facebook for the hopheads. You can go there and click it. When we get our Facebook or our webpage going, that'll be something you can go to on just go to hopheads, the webpage, and click on that. It'll take you right to it. So we'll start off with acetaldehyde. This is described as bready or bruised apples, cidery, fruity, grassy, green apple, green leaves, latex paint, raw apple skin. Sometimes it's mistaken for like a cellar-like flavor, musty or sour notes, sweet apple esters, or an acetic sourness to it. What does everybody think flavor-wise? Let's start off with the nose. Let's start off with the nose. Let's start off with the smell of it. I pick it up pretty strong. Found an apple, fruity, green apple, hard cider. That's a good one. Almost like a solvent, like a sweeter solvent.
To me, that acetaldehyde flavor they got, it smells a little more like an actual apple and whatnot. I've had the Russian Imperial Stout I talked about over and over again. You know, it was like a funky apple, but it was definitely there. It was like a green apple, you know, it was not exactly like apple.
Is anybody having a problem picking it up?
Probably not.
I get it more like it in the aroma. Even when if I toss it around my mouth a little bit, I can almost taste the vapor of it than I can actually on my palate.
While it's searching
And it's
around
more in the
for
front than it is in the back.
You know what I mean? It's going to clean up after itself.
Chad, also on the sheet, it says ever appropriate. Yes, at low level.
Yeah.
Not the catching
full
effect.
Yeah. So this can be an acceptable flavor for certain styles of beers. I'll just go over some stuff real quick on this off flavor so we know kind of how to handle it, where it comes from, that type of thing. Aldehyde is the most important, or acetaldehyde is the most important aldehyde, which is a carbon compound in beer. Although there are other aldehydes in beer, the acetaldehyde is the most important and the most prevalent found in brewing beer. Some levels are detectable, and others are considered to be a defect in most styles of beer. It's typically produced as a precursor to ethanol production during fermentation. Glucose is metabolized into pyruvic acid, which is then converted into acetaldehyde and then ethanol. During fermentation, some acetaldehyde escapes from the yeast cells, and during the final phase of fermentation, the yeast scavenges free acetaldehyde and finishes converting it. So it is something that's produced by your yeast, but then chewed back up afterwards. So if you pick it up during fermentation, maybe make sure you have good, solid, long-lasting fermentation, and that it should clean up typically. If it doesn't, then you typically probably had something with the fermentation temperature. In young beer or fermenting water, acetaldehyde levels range from 20 to 40 milligrams per liter. decreasing to 8 to 10 milligrams per liter in a finished beer. So typically beers will have 8 to 10 milligrams of acetaldehyde in it per liter, but you'll never taste it.
How much did you put in this?
I'd have to look. I don't know for sure, but I mean, I'll find out. It was tiny. I mean, did you see the little? It's a little bitty glass vial, about less than the size of a thimble. So drops, approximately some drops.
Some drops.
It's a good measure.
The oxidation of a finished beer might convert ethanol back into acetaldehyde. In this case, acetaldehyde is usually accompanied by other oxidation or age-related effects. So, over oxygenating beer post-fermentation can bring acetaldehyde back out in your beer.
I didn't know that. I thought it was always for fermentation practices. I didn't realize.
Yeah, well, and it says that typically if you get that, you're going to get oxidation flavor as well. So that's one thing right there. If you're picking it up and you're trying to figure out how the heck it happened in your finished beer, and you maybe start looking for some oxidation flavors as well, as far as trying to troubleshoot what happened, you could pinpoint that right there. At least eliminate one situation in your process. The combination of a bacterial action or an oxidation can reduce acetaldehyde to acetic acid, which is a vinegar-like flavor, due to the chemical reaction of ethanol and acetaldehyde. In this case, acetaldehyde is usually accompanied by acetic acid and other contamination effects. Other aldehydes that are found in beer is methyl butanol, which is like an unripe banana flavor. Benzaldehyde, which is bitter almonds or burnt almonds or cherries. Butyraldehyde, which is melon or varnish. Hexanol, bitter, vinous, and trans-2-non paper or cardboard. I'm good at pronunciation.
Called the suicide.
So acetaldehyde can be increased in your beer by yeast management. So if your yeast strain is highly flocculent or overly highly flocculent without controlling it, if it's poor yeast health, so if you underpitch or the yeast just wasn't strong enough in the first place to get going, your temperatures were off in the first place, it didn't give it the right temperature range to really kick off and hit hard. That's probably the number one thing that you're going to see this production as far as your standard brewing processes go. If you get a stub fermentation, so if your yeast peters out on you, that's something to watch for. You can just check your gravities as you go. If it's starting to peter off way too early, you can feed it a little bit and help kind of fire it back up. If you prematurely take your transfer, you can actually stir up some acetaldehyde flavors, or you'll prevent your yeast from being able to chew up the leftover acetaldehyde that's in it by killing your yeast too early. Insufficient conditioning time, so your secondary, if there's still some leftover yeast working on some stuff when you transfer it, that can still get cleaned up in the secondary depending on how much yeast you carry over. Aeration of your green beer during conditioning, kind of talk about that, or while you're bottling it, if you get too much oxygen, if you shake it up too much. Simple as just flushing a little bit of, keeping an open line on your CO2 tank if you got CO2 around, or even if you're not bottling yet. Just get you a little gun with a little paintball, screw in CO2 tank, and that should you can purge. You can purge your carboys when you're transferring things. That just keeps the oxygen off of your oxygen, or the CO2 is heavier than the oxygen, so it should set in there and keep the oxygen off your beer. Bottling, the same thing with bottling. we kind of talked about most of the ways to where it comes from. When acetaldehyde is appropriate for for most types of beer, detectable levels of acetaldehyde is at fault. But the exception is a light standard American lagers may have very low levels of acetaldehyde. This is because Budweiser has very slight acetaldehyde notes, and since Anheuser-Busch uses beechwood slats in their conditioning tanks to encourage the yeast to flocculate and settle prematurely before it reduces all the acetaldehyde in ethanol. That's good. That's kind of cool information.
Basically, Budweiser can't ferment the beer.
So therefore, yeah, it's okay.
We did it good enough. Alright,
So-
sorry.
Acetaldehyde kind of runs side by side with diacetyl in a lot of ways. Let it. If you pick it up, it doesn't mean your beer's ruined. Try and let that age out. Make sure that you get good fermentation. Follow through with good fermentation, and that can clean up. So this is one all flavor that's not, once you pick it up, you're done for. Depending on when you pick it up. If you pick it up early, you can definitely clean that out of your beer. Anything else anybody wants to go over? Questions about it?
Has anyone ever had this in
You
either
said
beers?
like green banana smell. I did. That's
Well-
kind of like what I got.
That's
But of course
methyl butanol. That's a different aldehyde. It's not this. It's not acetaldehyde. That says that its description for that methyl butanol is unripe bananas, so green banana. But yeah, I can see where you get that like real fruity kind of ripe, really ripe kind of fruitiness. It's almost like a banana peel, like a green banana peel almost.
So if you catch this early enough, would you recommend repitching yeast, because that seems like it's one of the easiest fixes if it is your
Or maybe,
yeast strain?
rousing, raising the temperature up a little bit.
Just make sure it's going.
I would do everything you can with your current yeast strain before I pitched any more on it. I don't think that's going to hurt it, but the current yeast, part of their cycle from life to death is going to be to come back and clean that up. New yeast may not follow that same. They may just still be looking for sugars before they're going to be looking for their byproducts. That's kind of a take, but it's not saying that they won't. It would help if you're having a problem. If you notice that flavor and you realize, hey, I still got 20 points to go, and this thing's really just barely chugging. I would not hesitate to just have a pack of dry yeast on hand and some yeast nutrient.
In which case, yeah.
Or starter if you've got starter saved. Get your starter built up good and strong. Go ahead and fire it in there and add some nutrient. Feed that current yeast, and you can try that before you add new yeast. You can just try a little bit of nutrient. Just give it some, fire some Red Bull down in there for that yeast to eat, and it'll take off. So,
Some oxygen sometimes, in some cases, would just be enough to...
if you're early enough in fermentation, yeah. If you're early enough in fermentation, a little oxygen, good, clean oxygen. If you're really towards the back end, if you only got like 5 points left, I'd hold off.
But if you're like 20 points,
Oxygen is probably going to hurt it.
Yeah, you're probably going to introduce more problems. Well, we ready for another one, or we want to talk about this a little more? Any other questions?
some of those green apple hams.
This is very, very light. I actually kind of, at first I didn't like that it wasn't very strong, because I've had green apple before, and it's extremely strong. When it's produced in your beer,
It's a little
you
more
know
potent than that.
it's well more potent than that. Yeah, I mean it's almost like biting a green apple.
Yeah, you're like, what happened right here?
Yeah, and a lot of times it almost fades into a grass, almost like a fresh cut grassy flavor.
I mean, I've only had it happen once, but it's rough.
Yeah, please rinse your all flavor glass. Okay. All right, everybody, we got our second all flavor here. This is acetic acid. What are we picking up on our on the aroma? What's it smell like?
It's like a bite.
Vinegar.
Yeah.
Vinegar?
Very faint.
You pick up a little like apple,
It smells like acid.
From work.
skunky.
I do it all at work.
Anything else?
Yeah.
On the- I get skunky. Yeah, I smell that.
We have
It's got like bear. It smells like.
I think that's kind of a blend with the hams. This is sour, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's even hard to smell like.
I mean, it is.
what's a light vinegar?
What's it taste like?
That's most prevalent.
Now that you like see it though,
Control.
it's like
What's it taste like?
Or like
yeah.
On the flavor.
I taste this one.
Well, yeah. These flavors come as this. Yeah. It's sour,
It's mild.
kind of tart. I think this one's a little faint. I think if it was stronger, I mean, in typical all flavor, you're gonna pick a lot more. So we cut back our sample size. Those a little heavier.
That wasn't the last one.
Yeah, it was.
So it's definitely sour. Definitely pick up that kind of sourness.
Yeah.
Taste it against your control. Keep track of your control one. That'll help your palate pick up what it's missing. I like to kind of chew it. That kind of helps aerate flavors and bring them up through your nose. If you breathe out, that helps pick up things too.
Did it seem like it hurt the carbonation of it?
It's very harsh.
Yeah, it's actually now that you say that.
That's what I got the most of, I think.
It's good for
You put a little too much.
I mean,
So I definitely smell the vinegar
you don't.
and definitely taste the sour
And then
this one, if you let it sit
sourness
there,
to it.
it definitely has more carbonation.
Um, This is not something that the yeast produces. This is more of an infection or contamination from bad sanitation practices or other things. Could be intentional as well. The threshold. So the last one we talked about was like 8 to 9 for acetaldehyde. Standard was like 8 to 9, and the perception threshold on acetaldehyde was 5 to 20 milligrams per liter. The threshold for this one before you're going to be able to really pick it up is going to be 130. So there's going to have to be a lot more of this for you to be able to pick it up. It's one of the most common sour tastes found in beer, and it naturally occurs at low levels in all beers as a result of yeast activity during fermentation. Although detectable levels are considered to be a defect in most beer styles. Acetic acid is a volatile and relatively low perception threshold, so it can easily be detected in beer's aroma as well as in liquid.
It says it's acceptable in a wheat beer, in light amounts, I assume.
Light amounts,
but-
yeah, I would say that. Like very light,
Yeah.
more like with a fruity kind of
Yeah,
tartness,
yeah,
more
I
than
think
a
it's very,
sourness.
very light. I can see that. I've been making a lot of wheat beers lately.
Yeah, make them sour.
Yeah. My bad.
Or really sour, right? The high levels of acetic acid are caused by oxidation of ethanol by bacteria. Most common bacteria species which produce a white pellicle or a film on top of the beer in a conditioning vessel. Bacterial infection also produces high levels of acetic acid. These infections produce a slimy, ropey film on top of the beer. Both of these infections take time to develop and can only proceed in the presence of oxygen. So, you know, if you keep it sealed, you keep it CO2 you know, you can prevent the majority of this bacteria infection. Some other ones that will also produce this will also produce esters, so fruity esters, acetaldehyde, and sulfur. Some can be more leathery or sweaty or more like farmhouse, kind of saddleback hay, blanket,
Horse blanket. Yeah.
Higher fermentation temperatures are also help produce these bacteria and help them take over. So these are increased by inoculations with bacteria or wild yeast, which we see more commonly in your sours, grain packaging, that type of thing. To avoid this, we're looking for proper yeast management, so you're going to choose appropriate yeast strains, reduce the adjunct sugars that you're adding to the beer, because adjunct sugars aren't sanitary. So that can also be fruits, things like that you're going to be adding to your beer. Pitching the correct amount of yeast for optimal yeast health and minimize lag time. So if that thing is sitting there not producing CO2, you know, you've got a lot of oxygen sitting on top of there. If you didn't, you know, purge everything out, which you don't want to do, you don't really want to purge that CO2 out, or that oxygen out in primary. If you pitch your yeast and that sucker's just sitting there for 2-3 days, you know, you're really susceptible to getting an infection than you would in a typical situation, or if it would take off right off the bat within 24 hours. Proper sanitation is probably the number one thing you're looking for this. Just keeping everything clean. You know, like I always tell people, before your boil, just keep your stuff clean. You don't have to go crazy and sanitize everything. Keep it clean, soap and water. Everything after the boil, it's got to get touched by sanitizer before it touches your beer. Pretty easy trick or thing to keep in mind if you got more than one beer going on and you're kind of straggling for stuff. Cold side, anything on cold side, you need to be very, very, you know, keep very close attention to your sanitary, your sanitization practices on cold side. Anything once it's already cooled down or once you're going in the bottle, because that's pretty much the last thing that's going to touch it before it's going to sit in its final fluid break. That's pretty much it on acetic acid. The biggest thing is kind of a sour. It's very strong. You can pick up vinegar flavor-wise, but I think your vinegar is going to be more of a nose aroma type of thing.
To me, these all flavors seem to be on point.
Yeah, they're pretty close.
Considering I've experienced most of them.
They're pretty close. I mean, you know, I almost think they're almost a little bit slight. I think that they could be stronger yet. In the things I've tasted them before, they're a lot more prevalent.
I can see that with the acetaldehyde, you know.
Yeah, especially with that acetaldehyde. That thing is really strong a lot of times. I mean, it really hits you in the face.
It's like terrible green apple. They explain like green apple.
So this third one is butyric acid. It's pretty strong. I tried to pour a little less beer, so it was maybe a little bit heavier. Maybe we're at 1 mil to 95 mil, just so we could get a little more of it, so we can get a little more familiar with the flavor. There's not a lot of info on this as far as the write-up goes. What are we smelling? Butter.
I smell butter in
Yeah.
a vial, but not here.
Yeah.
Butter.
Limburger cheese.
Limburger cheese. Somebody's gonna say the one that I think that we're all really thinking. I'm just waiting to vomit.
I think that.
Oh, now I do.
Now that you mention it, give us
Butter's actually good. That's one of the descriptors. It's more of a spoiled butter, or like a rancid. You know, like some milk that's turned. You know, spoiled milk.
I don't either.
No, I do it now that I think about it.
Yeah, I
I
do
can
too.
see it.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really strong.
Apparently you've never had that type of.
Tasting anything different?
At the very end, it feels like more.
Yeah.
Vomit right after the
Yeah.
gas.
Like there's a something linger on the
Yeah,
back
it
end of
depends
that.
on what you vomit.
Any other descriptors for on the flavor outside of the aroma of it?
It's very nutty. It's like
What's that?
it has like a nuttiness. Like
Nuttiness?
in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean I definitely get this one more on the back,
Yeah.
flavor wise, than I do on the front. We toss it around a little bit, you know. Aerate it like bubble gum.
I didn't think it had that much on
You
it.
didn't taste it. I feel
I
like
can
it's really
taste it a little
strong.
bit, but I thought it was.
I can definitely
I thought it was
taste it.
pretty.
Alright, so let's talk about butyric acid real quick. Like I said, there's only a little bit to talk about on this one. This one is also microbial contamination. So bacteria, organisms, bugs getting in your beer. This one's a lot less common than acetic acid. Acetic acid is way more common than you're going to find. This is just a little bit different type of bacteria, and your infection is not typically during fermentation. Your bacteria infection is going to come during the wort production, so during your mash, or on the backside in your secondary, or bottling.
And it
Well,
doesn't,
if it comes through during the mash, is it not killed in boil?
that's what I was gonna ask.
No.
So would you taste it at the mash, or would it be something that comes out later on?
So it's a bacteria that doesn't die.
No, you're gonna. It's gonna. Let me read through it real quick. Butyric and 2-methyl butyric acids are produced by bacterial infections, usually Clostridium, either during wort production or after packaging. Clostridium can also infect sugar syrups used in brewing, as well as sour mashes exposed to aerobic conditions. All butyric compounds produce distinct, pungent, unpleasant, rancid odors, flavor, and aroma. The activity of butyric acid compounds is heavily dependent on pH. Their flavors are more intense at a lower pH level. So to avoid, we're going to look for good sanitation. Make sure that sugar syrups that you're using and your beers are not contaminated. And when you're sour mashing, make sure that the mash is kept above 90 degrees Fahrenheit and is not exposed to outside air. And it just as a note, butyric acids are never appropriate in beer styles.
You don't want vomit.
So you don't want vomit.
The vomit from the
Chad,
buttery.
can we explore real quick
The buttery.
why you can get that contamination during the wort, but then it not be remedied during a boil?
I couldn't answer that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean I think in the we'll probably pick it up mostly trying to do a kettle sour, just by reading the notes. If you're not keeping it hot enough, it'll pick it up. I don't know why you wouldn't be able. Maybe once it's contaminated, maybe it mixes with other methyls and things in the beer, produces things that create these flavors. It's not the actual acid itself that you're tasting. The acid, I guess the acid itself is what you're tasting. The bugs that produce it, will be killed off, but they've already done the damage. So the acid is what's produced. So you're not gonna. I guess you're not gonna boil that acid off.
Especially when you switch it around.
Any other questions on that butyric acid? Has anybody done some kettle sours?
We did our first one.
How'd that go?
I think it went pretty. I mean, it's still fermenting, so we haven't tasted it yet. But yeah, it's maybe too much sour right now. I don't know if that'll settle out yet or not. But
Good.
you
It
know,
came out
use
a
the
lot.
probiotic tablets, and
Okay.
you know, we'll just determine whether we can just reduce that amount or not. So.
You have a little sheet for the.
I don't have anything for that one. The five stars that come. This is not a very common one. So I mean, like I said, I think the biggest thing that people run across is during trying to do kettle sours, not keeping it hot enough to prevent those bugs from getting in there. That's probably the most common type that you're going to see this. So for standard brewing practice, you're probably not going to see this. If you do, you did something probably pretty wrong.
It's like half and half. Some of us can't taste it. So
I definitely pick it up on the nose. You know, and that.
I pick it up on the nose a little more than I do from.
Yeah.
You know.
I definitely think passing that vial around helps
Yeah.
really pick up what they're trying, what flavor they're trying to get across. So, but it just does show that, you know, when judges are picking up, this is the stuff they're looking for. These very, very minute flavors that we're looking for, just that one thing. They're trying to find everything in those beers. So that's it for tonight as far as the flavors go. Our next meeting is going to be March 20th, back here at Homebrew Supply. Show up at 6. Meeting will start at 6:30. Our all flavors, we're doing an all flavor educational again. We're doing caprylic acid and contamination and DMS. So that's going to be our 3 for the next meeting.